Today we start part B, getting started with JSON. But for the first video, B.1, I want to explain several questions in our comprehension questions. Module 1, we do not have any questions a little harder, so I need to explain. So Module 1, you can understand easily. So I just explain some of the questions from Module 2. Yeah. So for this part, I will cover 7 questions from Module 2. A, B, C, D. So I select 7 questions from those 4 parts. Yeah. All right, so let me start. The first question. To A, question number 10. Is there a way to allow us to display multiple consecutive space characters in an HTML element? Yeah. The answer is yes. Yeah. But here, there are 2 things you need to know for this question. First, do not write multiple consecutive space characters directly in your HTML document. Yeah. So, do not write them directly. Because if you write them directly, only the first space character is kept, the remaining or eliminated. So you won't see it truncated. Yeah, we call it truncated. Yeah. So you won't see them. Yeah. All right. So the second thing, but if we really want to display multiple consecutive space characters, we need to use the HTML entities. Yeah. Use the HTML entities. Yeah, this. Yeah. Here for the space character. So what's that? Yeah, you need to get that. Yeah. Ampersand. The entities start with ampersand. MBSP. Non-breaking space, right? NBSP. Non-breaking space, okay? Semicolon, yeah. So this whole thing, when it is displayed, you will see 1 space character, yeah. But you can do this multiple times to get multiple consecutive space characters. Yeah. So that's the way we do, okay? All right, so I hope you know this, yeah. All right, so next. Question number 14, is it possible to resize an image using the img tag in an HTML document without distortion? Yeah, here, without distortion. Yeah. So this question, yeah, if you pay attention to a video, yeah, so in one of the videos, I explain this problem. Okay? So remember, I raised the question in that slide. Yeah. I ask you to find the answer from our textbook. Yeah. And I said, if you search on web, so you can search on the web, so you can get a lot of answers. Yeah. I tried that, yeah, but I didn't get any satisfactory answer for myself. Yeah, I couldn't get it. Yeah, because I know the answer. Yeah, so then I look at all different answers people provided. None of them is good enough for me. So the good enough here, I mean, it should be simple, easy, right, and clean. Yeah, not very messy, describe you to many different things, but finally at the end, you still get a bad result. So we don't like that kind of answer. Yeah. All right. So I ask you, if you read the textbook carefully, you at one place you can find one sentence, but that sentence talking about the answer, but it does not give a very clean, simple answer. Okay, so you can see partial answer. Yeah, so I can say it's a partial answer, but still not quite there yet. So that's why here I pick this question. So I will give you a complete answer here. All right. Because for an image, why distortion? All right. So first, what element or what factor causes the distortion? Yeah. All right. Width and height ratio should match the original image size, original ratio, right? Yeah. Because when you use IMG tag, you need to specify the width and height of the image to be displayed, right? You need to specify. But when you specify it, if you do not set the ratio exactly the same as the original ratio, you get distortion. Okay? Yeah, stretch from the horizontal direction or stretch from the vertical direction, compress, distortion. So how to avoid that? We want a simple answer. So we don't want a, very complicated answer. Yeah. So, all right, so here, let me just describe the answer. All right. IMG, right? Yeah, tag, source, yeah. Source, we do not need to do anything, right? Yeah, because you use the original source. All right. Then, width. When you specify width, you have freedom to specify, okay? So what kind of size? Usually there are two ways. One, the pixel way. So you can, the number of pixel, okay? Certain number of pixels, that's one way. Another percentage, certain percent. Yeah, two ways, okay? Yeah. Here I just use one way. Yeah. All right. For example, I use 60%, okay? All right, width, then height. What do I do at the height? At the height, do I also do the 60%? Yeah, so think about that. Yeah. So at the height, a better way, do not do the height. Okay, leave that height blank. Yeah. No height, okay? No height. If you do it in this way, the browser will use the original ratio to set height, appropriate height. Okay? The browser will use the original ratio to set appropriate height. Similarly, if you use the pixels, leave the height blank. Do not set a height. Yeah. Then the browser will do the calculation to set appropriate height for you. Then no distortion. Because the browser does the adjustment, correct adjustment. Yeah. All right. Similarly, not necessarily width, you can set, so if the other way, you just set height, you just set a height equals certain number. For example, in that case, leave width blank. Don't do anything on width part. If you do that, then the browser will do the remaining work. Okay? Yeah. So you will be fine. Yeah. Okay? So that's the solution. Clean solution. Very simple. Okay? Yeah. All right. Next question. CQ2B, question number 3. Yeah. When two HTML documents are in the same server. We have one similar question in the homework assignment number 1. Yeah, one similar question. Yeah, but here, let me explain. If we refer to one of the documents inside the other document through a hyperlink, then we can always use the relative URL. Answer is false. Yeah. So why? So let me explain. Yeah. Because there is some relatively deep background behind it. Yeah. So here I need to explain the server. So what happens inside a server? Okay, yeah, server. So you know the server, right? Yeah, here. Yeah. So we're talking about inside a server. Yeah. So this block. So what do I mean this block? This block, I mean software running environment. Okay, software running environment of the server. All right. So, all right. In this software running environment, there are many web applications, not just one, because inside the server you can run one. Let me just write simple web application 2, and so on. Okay. You can run many web applications. All right. For each web application, you need to have a root folder. Root, web application, root folder. All right. So all the resource, all the files, resources. Yeah, we just say the general resources. Okay. Useful things, yeah. So that's the resources, useful things inside this folder. All right. Web application 2, you have a lot of resources there. All right. So they are in the same server. Okay. All right. So now my question. Suppose one of the document, doc 1 is in the first web application, right? Doc 2 in the second web application. Yeah. Here, my question is, if I want to refer, if I want to, put a hyperlink point to doc 1 inside my doc 2, okay? Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Can I use relative URL? Relative? Relative means relative to the current location. Okay? Yeah. The answer is no. The answer is no. Why? Because you have this root. If you use relative, your current location is inside this root folder, right? Yeah. So here, root 1, root 2. Root 1. So now you are in root 2. Okay? If you use relative URL, you need to use some way to reach doc 1 through relative path. It is not allowed. Okay? You cannot do that. It is not allowed. You are not allowed to get out of this root 2 to reach any other places. You can only access the resources within this root folder. Okay? You cannot get out of it. So that's something. So that's the, some protection, data protection. If you can get out of it, so you will, modify things outside your current web application. So then you can cause a lot of damages. So you're not allowed to do that. Okay? So you can only do things within this root. Yeah. Each web application, any file within one web application, you can only access resources inside your own web application, but not outside. You cannot get out of it. Yeah. So that's the background behind this question. Yeah. Yeah. So, because for this background, in my regular lecture video, so I cannot explain that deep. Yeah. That deep. Yeah. So I use this question, so I have a chance to explain this deeper background. Yeah. All right, so next question. Yeah. When we design web pages, CSS is the only way for us to design the layout of a page. Answer is false. Not the only way. Yeah. We have another way to do it. Okay? Yeah. In the notes, we talk about that, the table way. Table way. Okay? HTML, the table, yeah, before CSS technology was created, people used the table way to do the layout. Yeah. But after CSS was created, so most of the people use the CSS way to do the layout. Yeah. So now in general situation, people feel CSS way is much better than table way. Yeah. All right, so here there are two ways. Okay. First, table way. Second, CSS way for layout. Okay. All right. So now, what is our attitude? What is our right way to use these two ways in our layout design? Yeah. So based on my experience, yeah, because I saw some programmers, they do 100% CSS way. Okay, they under any situation they avoid do the table way. Yeah. So based on my experience, I feel that way is not that good. Yeah. That way is not the best way. Yeah. So my decision, my choice, yeah, I like to put a 90% CSS way and a 10% table way. So I still keep, so for some special situations, I can still use a table to organize my GUI components. Yeah. So then CSS. Yeah. So why is that? Yeah. The reason, yeah, in our textbook, it talk about so why table way is not that good, because when you design some relatively more complex layout, your table way could be very messy. Extremely, you can imagine, so very nested tables, one table inside another table, nested, column span, row span, extremely messy. Okay. Yeah. So that's a extremo, that's the extremo case. Yeah. So definitely we want to avoid that, but sometimes the table way can provide some convenience. That convenience you should not avoid. Why? Because the table way, it provides a natural grid. So you can organize your components in grid automatically. There is a table, its structure is that grid structure. Yeah. But in CSS, you couldn't get a grid, right? In CSS, how do you arrange GUI components in grid way? Yeah. You cannot. Yeah. So that's why we still sometimes we can add this grid tool to organize the components for us. Yeah. But one thing to make sure, do not make your table structure too complex. So you need to control. Yeah. Yeah. Do not use nested, too many levels of nested tables. Yeah. So just use a little bit. So that's why I give that relatively small percentage. Okay? Yeah. So that's my experience. Yeah. My suggestion. Yeah. But not zero. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's this question. Yeah. Then 2D, two questions in 2D. Question number 4 and number 9. Yeah. Question number 4. When we use display property and visibility property to hide some HTML elements, their behavior are the same. It's false. Yeah. Yeah. So if you pay attention to the notes, you can find a place we compare the difference. I even show you the demo, right? So in the W3 school, so I use 2 examples. Yeah, click. Yeah. So one, when we use the display, it's property none. So your JavaScript to send none, so then that component is gone. The space occupied by that component also removed. Yeah. Okay. So you can see the space also gone. All right. But this visibility, so when you set visible, right? Yeah. Then, if you hide it, right? So hidden, yeah. When you set visibility to hidden, you cannot see it, but it's just a hidden, right? Yeah. Hidden means you cannot see it, but the space occupied by that component is still there. Okay? So that's the main difference. Yeah. But here I want to raise another question you can think about. All right. Because we have learned jQuery, right? Yeah. So that's why I want to connect jQuery to this question. In jQuery, remember, when we use selector, some selector, we call hide method. Hide method. So it can hide that component. Okay? Yeah. Disappear, hide that component. Yeah. So my question is, can you tell me this hide method corresponds to the display way or corresponds to the visibility way? Which way? Corresponds means they have the same behavior. Okay? So the space still occupied by that hidden component, or the space not occupied, yeah, space released. Yeah. Okay? So if you have a chance, so if you curious about this question, so you can do some experiment to find the answer. Yeah. For me, I will also do my own experiment. So then at some appropriate time, I will tell you the answer. Okay? So, yeah. That's the question. But that, some interesting question, small question. Yeah. Here I just raise it first. Yeah. All right, so that's the question number 4. Number 9. If we use the absolute value for the position property. Yeah, because absolute. So you need to, based on something, yeah, you need to have some reference element to use. Yeah. So that's why we need to find it. Yeah. Then this element must have a positioned ancestor element. Position. So we know the meaning of position, right? The display property, value, not static. Okay? If static, we cannot say it's position. Okay? Not static. Yeah. So it could be absolute, could be relative, could be fixed. Yeah. Could be sticky. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever, except others. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here, the answer, although we know the answer is false, but do you know why the answer is false? I want to explain the reason why the answer is false. The reason is, the answer is, we should find the nearest position ancestors if it is available, because you don't know if it is available. Okay? Nearest position ancestor element. Sometimes it is not available. You cannot find that. If you cannot find it, then there is another answer, the body element. The body element, because your element must be inside this body, right? Yeah, that's for sure. It must be inside the body. Otherwise, you cannot put your element in the viewable screen, viewable part on the screen. Yeah. So it must be inside the body element. So then, if you cannot find any position ancestor element for your current element, that you use absolute value for the display property. Okay? Yeah, sorry, not display property, position property, right? I got confused. Position property, right? Yeah. Then this body element is used as its ancestor element, as the reference element. Yeah. So position, you do set position with respect to this reference element. So that's the reason behind the answer. All right, so the last question. 2D, question number 12. Can we place an image at the center of an HTML page in CSS? Here, we point to in CSS without changing its display property. Answer is no. But why is that? So if the answer is trivial and not very difficult, so you can find it easily in the notes, then I do not explain. But something I need to explain a little bit, so then I do here. So this is one I need to explain a little bit, because the image element by default, RMG element, by default, it is the inline element. Okay, so you know the meaning inline element, right? So for the inline element, you cannot put it in the center in CSS. Inline. Okay? Yeah. Only when the element is the block element, you can use CSS to place that element in the center of the screen. Okay? Yeah. The viewable area. Yeah. For that reason, you have to change the display property from inline to block. Okay? So you need to change. So without changing, you cannot do it. Okay? So you have to change it from inline to block value. Okay? This display property from inline to block. Inline to block. Okay? Yeah. After that, then you can use the CSS setting appropriate property values to put it in the center. Yeah. So that's the question, the answer of the question. Okay? All right. Then another thing regarding this question, there is another way to do it, but that way has some problem, has some potential problem. Yeah. So that way is use the center tag. In HTML, there is a center tag. Okay? center tag, then you can put an image in the content of the center tag. Then you put in the middle directly. So easy. Yeah. So that's why this center tag is so easy to use. Yeah. So I use this a lot, okay? Because convenient. I do not need to change anything. I just use it directly. Okay? Simple. Yeah. The CSS way much harder. I need to do a lot of things to do that. Okay? But the problem is this is not recommended. So many people say this is not recommended. Yeah. So try to avoid it. Yeah. Because it could be deprecated sometime. Soon, later. Yeah. But if it's not deprecated, yeah. So if it is still, the browsers still support this center element, I feel it is quite convenient. I mean, just my own experience. Yeah. All right, so we finish part B.1.